there has been a shocking development that has sent ripples not just across India but across the globe. The 4 family members of the Hinduja family have been put behind bars. They have been sentenced to 5 years for ill-treating their domestic staff. Let's take a look at the family history of Hindujas, how rich they are and how cheap and petty they became in paying just 10,000 rupees for each of their domestic staff that was working as you know, it's as good as working as bonded laborers under the Hinduja. So here's a look at the Hinduja family, what their net worth is, and they could not even spend a paltry sum to treat their staff, treat their domestic help with dignity. Prakash Hinduja, he has been put behind bars along with the 3 other family members for 5 years. He is 78 years of age. He is the chairperson of Hinduja Group in Europe. His net worth is 37 billion pounds. Kamal Hinduja, 75 years of age, wife of Prakash Hinduja. She's also been sentenced to 4.5 years in jail. Ajay Hinduja, he is the son of Prakash Hinduja. He has also been sent in jail for 4 long years. Namrata Hinduja, wife of Ajay Hinduja, also put behind bars for 4 years. Now, this is the sad, sick, shocking state of affairs, and in fact the charges that have been put against these 4 individuals is spending more on their pet dog than their servants. There has been allegation that had been put that they seized the passports of their workers and kept them working for long hours without paying them extra. They prevented workers from leaving the villa, and they were giving paltry sums of, like I said, 10,000 rupees per month for one individual working out of Geneva, forcing workers to work for long hours with minimal pay. And many of the workers were paid in rupees, which was inaccessible in Switzerland. So these are the 5 charges. Workers were paid as little as $7.84 for 28 hours work per day. Workers described climate of fear instituted by Kamal Hinduja, the wife of Prakash Hinduja. Workers were made to sleep in basement or on a mattress on the floor. So they were inhuman living conditions that the Hindujas treated to the workers. Let's take a look at some other information about this shocking details that are pouring in. Now, let's take a look at the background, the history, the family tree of the Hinduja family. The well-known, established multi-billionaires that have spread their businesses across Europe, across the globe. In 1914 is when the Hinduja Group was founded by Parmanand Deepchand Hinduja in Sindh, which is now in Pakistan. In 1919, the company's first international operation was set up in Iran. In 1935, Parmanand's eldest son, Sri Chand P. Hinduja, took over the reins of the Hinduja Group. In 1979, the headquarters of the group was shifted from Iran to London. And let's keep moving on. Yes, Sri Chand and his brother Gopi Chand moved to London thereafter. And from 1984 to 1987, the group acquired Ashok Leyland and Gulf Oil. The Hinduja Group has investments in oil, in manufacturing of vehicles. In 1994, Sri Chand Hinduja found the IndusInd Bank. In 2023, Gopi Chand Hinduja took charge after Sri Chand's death, and now in the current state of affairs, the major Hinduja Group companies, like I said, from oil to vehicles to banks, Ashok Leyland, IndusInd Bank, Hinduja Bank Limited, IndusInd Bank, Hinduja Global Solutions, GOCL Corporation Limited, Gulf Oil Lubrications India Limited, Gulf Oil International Limited, Hinduja Group India Limited, Hinduja Tech Limited, Hinduja Healthcare Limited, British Metal Corporation India Private Limited. In fact, there have been controversies that the Hindujas have tackled in the past as well. They have been mired in them, and here's the shady past of the Hindujas: Bofors scandal, the weapons contract, which was a political scandal between India and Sweden. Bofors allegedly bribed government officials over a defense deal, and Hindujas were deeply entrenched in this deal. Srichand, Gopichand and Prakash Hinduja were connected with this investigation that was undertaken. The CBI had slapped charge sheet on the Hindujas over taking commission from Bofors. In 2005, the Delhi High Court threw out charges against them, and there was no further probe that was carried out for against the Hindujas. Now, there was also the UK citizenship row that has also brought the Hindujas in the limelight for wrong reasons. They had allegedly donated £1 million to Millennium Drone in exchange for citizenship. Now, this is of course understandable how easy it is to get citizenship in United Kingdom. Peter Mandelson was forced to resign over this scandal. And let's take a look at the richest families in United Kingdom and the wealth that has been accumulated by the Hindujas. Hindujas are in fact the richest family in the whole of UK. Hinduja's net worth is £37 billion. It's a Mumbai-based conglomerate who is based out of London. Sir Leonard Balvatanik, his net worth is £29.25 billion. He's a Ukrainian-born business magnate living out of United Kingdom. We have David and Simon Rubin. Their net worth is £24.98 billion. Private equity and investment business is what these two brothers run. There's Sir Jim Ratcliffe. His net worth is £23.52 billion. He is Manchester United part owner and the founder of INEOS. So this man is fourth richest in United Kingdom. Sir James Dyson, the net worth of this gentleman is £20.8 billion. He's the founder of tech firm Dyson. Now, having gotten an idea of who the Hindujas are, their family tree, from where all they have accumulated their wealth, which are these big businesses, fields where they have invested in and earned these huge amounts of sum. Let's start off our discussion. And Ambassador Basuti Mukherjee, what a shameful, pitiable act that has been conducted by the Hinduja family. Just imagine, you are a multi-billion-dollar company, you are multi-millionaires, multi-billionaires, and this is the sad way that you're treating your domestic help. What does this say about an individual and their character?
Thank you, Megha, for inviting me to your show. As a coincidence, I have lived 6 years of my life working for the UN in Geneva, and I have had the privilege as a much younger diplomat to have dinner with the Hindujas, where I was very impressed, as you would have been, Megha, to see that all their bathroom furnishings are made of pure gold. And that was the first time coming from India that I had seen such a lavish house, lavishly furnished. I must say I did not see any domestic help. But in Switzerland, it is well known that the Swiss are extremely strict about labor laws, etc. In my 6 years in Switzerland, I had a Portuguese help who used to come 3 times in the week when I was at the UN. She used to clean up my house. And when I used to leave little chits for her, she used to chop up my onions and tomatoes so that I could cook for myself when I come home. That is how most normal people live in Switzerland, because the Swiss are extremely strict about these issues. I am very surprised that the Hindujas, who are so rich, as you pointed out, could have gone to such a level to exploit Indians. It would appear, therefore, that they don't consider themselves to be Indians at all. They consider themselves to be coming from a different planet, where they can just exploit the people of the country of their origin in this manner. The stories that you are telling us are horrific. There are others which are floating around on social media. The point here is very simple. the basic minimum age, which in France, in French is called SMIC, is not that much. They could have afforded to pay them their basic minimum wage, opened a bank account for them, which is what most people do, and got them their health insurance, which is also not very expensive, and ensured a humane treatment, which would have ensured that these Indians who have gone there because of poverty possibly would have worked loyally for them and much longer than a normal Swiss. Because, for instance, I remember very well that when you pay the way I did, you have to pay by hour, or you keep somebody for the whole day, then you pay for the whole day. So if you've got an Indian and you treat the person humanely, you give them the basic minimum wage, you treat them nicely, they will stay with you and will do their best for you. I don't think that any of them are behind bars, Megha, because they have appealed their sentence. But it would appear to me that even if Prakash Hinduja, who's 78 going on 79, his sentence could be suspended due to old age, like his wife, I think his son and daughter-in-law will definitely get at least 2 years. And I would say that this would give a very good signal to others who, because the Hindujas, Megha, they're not really proper Indians as such. They're of Indian origin. They made their first billions in Iran under the Shah of Iran. When the Shah was overthrown, they moved to London, to Switzerland, to United States, etc. So their first fortune was made in Iran, and they have strong connections with Iran and the Middle East. So it's not as if they would have lost their fortune if they had treated the people of the country of their origin with a little bit of humanity.
Yeah.
I would not be sorry if I hear that they are in prison, and I would not be sorry to know that they've got that full jail sentence, because I think that for such people need to set an example. And in India, we have the example, Megha, of philanthropy and doing good to poor people. This is absolutely goes against the grain. It's like what Dr. Kohli and I discussed yesterday on this channel about the Indian worker whose hand was chopped off in Italy. This is almost as horrifying as that, Megha.
Yeah.
It's a really sad story, Megha.
Sharad Kohli, I think the more you talk about the Hindujas and this pitiable act that they have committed, and they have been doing so, I don't know, for months and years, it's only been brought to notice now, and they have been put behind bars, and this is like, it's shocking for the world to even comprehend that such a wealthy family could be, purse pinching for the servants, and there are Indian servants that have been brought into Geneva to serve them. And does this, can one imagine if something of the sort was to happen in India, it would have been brushed under the carpet, the bureaucrats and the police and the law and order agencies would have been paid off, and that would be the end of it.
Absolutely. Good evening, Megha. Good evening to my fellow panelists and dear NewsX viewers. If you back off the envelope calculation of their net worth, 37 billion pounds, the pound is going around 106. It comes to 3,92,200 crores. Now, that is the net worth we are talking of. What a shame. I mean, what are you going to do with this net worth when you can't look after your own people? People from your own country. Although Ambassador Mukherjee, said that they don't have Indian origin, but they have Indian origin, but they don't belong essentially to India. But the fact of the matter is that most of their business interests, including Ashok Leyland and IndusInd Bank, which are two of the largest organizations they have at this point of time, because they are both listed on the stock market, and I know their market capitalization. They are very much in India, and they keep traveling to India very often. So do their children. So to do to the fellow countrymen, this is slavery. I don't call it as torture, Megha. I'm sorry. I call this as slavery. You put people in your basement, give them mattresses to sleep, and we all know how cold Switzerland can be in winters.
Yeah.
It can be very, very torturous. You put them there, then you don't open their bank account. The median salary in Switzerland is $7,000 per month. $7,000 per month is the median salary which a Swiss earn. I mean, if we take out on per capita basis, we don't go by per capita basis. We take by law for a Swiss national or somebody living in Swiss, $7,000 is a median salary. Of course, the basic minimum wage may be lesser than that. But look at the kind of salary you give, 10,000 rupees, that to an Indian account. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to do bonded labor. This is a classic example of modern day bonded labor, which we've read in history books, where people from Africa were brought to India, brought to other places, were taken to America, taken to other places. This is a classic example of bonded labor. And I'm so happy that, and I must place on record my appreciation for the Swiss government, although Ambassador Mukherjee has very explicitly stated that in Switzerland you do not tolerate. But there are two messages which has gone out of this sentence. One message is for the Indian wealthy families and other families as well, who brought people from India, because I must tell you that people in UK and other places where I know a lot of families, they are very fond of bringing people from India. हमारा खाना बनाएगा जी, उसको दाल मखनी आती है, उसको शाही पनीर आता है. You know, he can stitch clothes for us. He can do the cleaning, whereas getting it done from the Goras there is very expensive. As Ambassador Mukherjee said, you have to pay on an hourly basis. Get these poor Indians, park them there. For them, it's fancy. You know, I'm going to work in Switzerland, going to work in London. You know, it's a fancy thing for that poor family living in some village in India. Only yesterday we were talking about it. And what a shame. Yesterday we were talking about an Italian, national doing this. Today we are unfortunately talking about somebody of Indian origin doing it. So one message is, I think this is a message for people, wealthy people who have employed Indians like slaves, that this is what can happen to you out of all the scams that you may have escaped. For something like this, where you've tortured your domestic help, you will have to go to jail for 4.5 years. And the second message is for the Indians, that for God's sake, when you decide to work abroad, please check the credentials. And what has not come to
checking the credentials. This is the richest family in United Kingdom, the most renowned, amongst the most famous businessmen. I mean, if an individual has decided to go and work over there, they are expecting to have the bare minimum provided to them.
Yeah, Megha, just one more thing. What has not come to surface is that how long were these domestic helpers working for Hindujas? So, and how did this leak out? I mean, how did these workers manage to reach a lawyer or the enforcement agencies, or there was a raid in the house on somebody's complaint? Somebody must have filed a complaint. That's why the Swiss enforcement authorities came home. So how did these people go through all these years when they were there? I think this is a clear message for the Indians who send their children, brothers, sisters, whosoever is going there, that please, for God's sake, do not get carried away by foreign land. Do not get carried away by pounds and dollars or Swiss francs. You could be ruining your life forever, Megha.
Rabinder Sachdev, on one hand, you have these big businessmen, entrepreneurs running conglomerates like Bill Gates, and you have Anand Mahindra back home, Ratan Tata, Azim Premji, Shiv Nadar, Kumar Mangalam Birla, who are known to be these philanthropists. And on the other hand, when you see a Hinduja family who up until now had been put in such high regard, and it just falls off the pedestals that have been put up by people who look up to them, what message does this give out?
Thank you so much, Megha. Absolutely. I mean, the message it gives out is shocking, surprising, and violation of several, whatever norms. I'll point to a few. I mean, of course, the surprise and the pitiable thing which has happened is a different matter. Couple of things. This also means there must have been, quote unquote, I would say, criminal intent. I'll pick 2-3 points. If these people were taking to Switzerland to work, I mean, they were there for several years. What visa were they? Were they a tourist visa? If they're working on a tourist visa, that itself is illegal. If they were taken from India on a work visa, that work visa would have implied the employer would have given a certain undertaking that these are being brought into Switzerland for this job at this wage. So there must have been a falsification of records also. While, I mean, they would have filed, right, with whatsoever their local counties or canton or the government, right, of the various employers they have, maybe their, their company employees, whosoever is employed, you have to have a, regular filing of these things. So there would have been a falsification of that. So that means they would have, put into the papers that, okay, I have a janitor, I have a driver, I am paying him, let's say, minimum wage multiplied or whatever, 5,000 francs a month. They were not paying that 5,000 francs a month. So there must have been a falsification of records, I would assume, absolutely. On that, and the visa thing, actually, flouting of the visa norms. Another thing, by the way, I will say, with respect to India, They were paying money in India, fair enough, to the family, right? In lieu of the job they're doing. How was this money in India being paid?
Yeah.
Somebody must be paying the money, right? Either one of their various companies, okay, or whichever way. So would this be, let's say, a hawala or a money laundering from an Indian perspective? In fact, why not? I mean, India could look at, and we should. How was this money coming in? These are the same channels which bring in, criminal money, drug money, whatsoever money. So these should be, nipped in the bud. So one is that, criminal intent, I would say falsification of records. Obviously, the prosecutors in Switzerland would have gone through several things. But what we're seeing right now, and the discussion is more on, how low the money was, what conditions they were in. But I'm saying in addition to it, this means a mind at work who has, brushed up the paperwork. So on paper, they are there, right? On paper, they are working. On paper, they're supposed to be paid X amount, which is the minimum wage or whatever the wage for let's say, a driver or a maid at home would be stay at home. Another thing, working conditions. It's not only the minimum wage or the money. You get the work week in Switzerland, I guess, is 40 hours or 42 hours, like in any country. Beyond that, you're supposed to get 2 days off. You're supposed to get 2 weeks paid holiday in any job, whatsoever job you are in. So there would be, I think, a litany of such other violations which have been committed.
Yeah.
Ambassador,
the most shocking thing that came across to me was, amongst other things, that the domestic help were being paid 10,000 rupees per month. I mean that's atrocious. I live in a 3 BHK apartment, and the salary that I pay to my domestic servant is much more than that, and I'm here living in India.
Oh, absolutely. And other than that, all these associated, terms of any work or these are humans. I mean, it's again, I think, humane, which Ambassador said, right? This is absolutely inhumane. Okay, you are keeping, and the wonderful thing is that the defendants, their lawyer was arguing in the court that, that money is not the only money. They were also getting, lodging and boarding.
Yeah.
Come on, what
Exactly.
lodging and boarding are you talking about? And how are you, quantifying it? And the number of hours continuous works, no time off. No job in this world today, technically, if you employ someone.
And then they would be flown into different cities in different countries as the family went about traveling.
Yeah, so this indicates a feudal mindset.
Yeah.
This indicates a long ago mindset of India, and of course, within India, of course, and maybe, in the West also. But it also indicates, living in a time warp and for them, it's business as usual. They would not even bothered. And to Sharadji's point, I think what happened was that apparently in 2018, somebody tipped off the county. Somebody may have called, maybe one of these workers themselves or somebody else called up. And that's why when this investigation started in 2018.
Yeah. Okay. Ambassador Mukherjee, yeah. You want to make a point, yes.
I wanted to explain that in Switzerland, there is a system of very vigilant NGOs who find out that there are foreign workers working, and when the family is away, they try to establish contact. It is in this manner that, I don't know in this particular case, in this manner that several cases of abuse when I was there, I recall. The other issue, which was very correctly pointed out by Mr. Sachdeva, is that they must have come on a tourist visa, because on a tourist visa, you are not interviewed. Moreover, I can share my experience that my father used to come and stay with me in Geneva. He used to get a 3-month visa. I had a diplomatic passport. And then to get it extended by 3 months, I had to take him to the visa authorities who would interview him, speak to him in English. Then I would have to pay the money and get a 3-month extension. It's very well organized.
Yeah.
Swiss are like the Germans. It is inconceivable, let me tell you, that if this is what I went through with a diplomatic passport, and the Hindujas don't have that, they have resident permits, okay? It is inconceivable that they could have shown them as part of their company, because in that case, the Swiss embassy in Delhi interviews the person who is going. And they would be exposed because they don't speak English and they must be looking very poor and very simple. They would not get the visa. So they must have taken them on a tourist visa, then flown them back to India, then got them another tourist visa, flown them, because what difference does it make to them if what Dr. Kohli is pointing out about their astronomical worth, which I can't even write down because it's too high for me to, for my poor Bengali mind to comprehend the amount of money they have. What would it matter to them, Megha, if they fly them back every 6 months?
Yeah.
So that is 100%, Mr. Sachdeva is right, that it was illicit the manner they were brought in. So the charges of trafficking actually are correct. So it's been thrown out by the court. The other issue is that when you when you bring Indians, like all of us have as ambassadors, you have an agreement by which you pay at least 20 to 25,000 rupees a month through your Indian bank in India into their bank account through an arrangement made between your bank and their bank. It's a perfectly legal transaction. That way the family in India is well provided. And in addition, you pay them in foreign exchange according to your arrangements, etc. That is the legal way of doing such things. Even I had my housekeeper who's been with me 40 years. She was with me for 3 of my ambassadorial assignments. And this is what I did for her. This is normal, legal, and it is recognized in the EU or in the US that you are making provision for their family legally through your bank account. And you're also paying them what is the minimum wage abroad. So that is the way it's done, and I'm sure the Hindujas, being much smarter than me and having been brought up in the West all their lives, they would be very well aware. They just do not want to invest in people whom they don't consider to be human beings. That is what disturbs me. They don't regard them as right. They regard them as indentured or as slaves, not as human beings.
Yeah. Sharad Kohli, you rightly mentioned that there are Indians who look at foreign shows with as greener pastures. They dream of earning in dollars and pounds and sending that money back home as remittances. And there have been several of these instances where in Gulf countries, these workers are crammed into one room, 10 to 12 of them in a single room, pitiable living conditions. Several times there have also been reports that their passports are confiscated and they're working as slaves, they're working as bonded laborers, and this case is no different than that.
Yes, Megha, they are made to live in below standard living conditions. What happened in Saudi Arabia recently when those, 68 people died, 68 were Indians, out of those. Because I'm told there was no escape route in the building. Yeah. There was no fire protection system in the building. So they are made to stay there because, we cannot conclude that the way they were living in India was even worse than that. We cannot simply brush it off by saying that this was at least better than the way they were living in India. At least there was a building in some of the decent area in Saudi Arabia or wherever. I think you cannot compromise your life for the sake of the promise of living standard that you're being given. Now, I have a point here. I've seen the estate of Hindujas in the United Kingdom, and I'm sure both my friends on the screen, they have seen it as well. One needs to investigate through the UK government. Yeah, how many people are hiding in the basement in the estate in UK now? You need to investigate. Everybody is employed. I would say for all his business interest in Iran and in the United Kingdom, for all the Indians who are employed there and people from other countries, because the mindset is the same. I don't mean to demean anybody, but the mindset remains the same. Yeah. It is not that I think of something else while being in Switzerland and I think of another thing when I'm in UK. I treat my people the same way, which is my mindset. So I think a detailed investigation should be launched into their entire team, which they have recruited now in United Kingdom as well. And I had yesterday suggested something which I would like to reiterate now with your permission, that Ministry of External Affairs in India, Megha, must consider a detailed survey of all Indians. There are about 3 crore expats who are abroad. Some of them are wealthy, some of them will be very successful, but most of them have gone to make their life there, make their career there. Most of them are not earning as much as they had thought they would earn when they went. I think a survey should be conducted. Ministry of External Affairs through the embassies must conduct this survey, and these people should be called, they should be interviewed, and their heart should be taken that How do you feel? Are you okay
Yeah.
with being here?
Yeah.
Are you being made to stay here forcibly? And so forth. Megha, that's my suggestion
Yeah.
through your show today.
Rubinder Sachdev, when the mindset, there is a mindset. If you go to America and if you go to Europe and other of the Western countries, it is well perceived that if you get an Indian or a Pakistani or a Bangladeshi, they would be much cheaper to hire. That's the perception.
Oh, very true. So very true. Absolutely. I mean, I had a housekeeper also, a lady from Peru, and I could not afford, to have a full time. So again, once 3 hours a week, 2 hours a week, etc., and a certain rate. But yes, you're right. Even there it happens. Let's say the minimum wage would be maybe let's say $10, but okay. And some of them are illegals also working in the US, right? In Switzerland, I think it would be much less, but the US has a much wider problem of immigration and all. But still, you end up paying, a decent amount.
Yeah.
Okay, and you cannot afford it. That being said, secondly, I've not visited or seen their mansion there, but I've met, Prakash Hinduja in Malaga at a round table at a retreat of sorts regarding India. This was 6 years ago. But again, it comes back, a feudal mindset, a mindset that, it doesn't matter. I think it was beyond their radar. I think they didn't even think. But what must have brought to their radar is, again, I'm going back, there must have been some falsification in the paperworks. Whichever visa they were, whatsoever they were, right? There must have been some falsification. Where was the money being paid? If in Switzerland, that's falsification. If in India, also being paid to their family. It's not that, Megha, that you're living in the US and you tell me, Robinder, your family kindly pay my, this driver's family 20,000 rupees a month. It won't be that. It would have been structured via one of their companies, I would assume.
Yes.
Okay, some junior level employee. So there itself, there would be some, if not criminality, but a financial crime.
Yeah.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.